What is up, guys? I hope you're having a fantastic day. If you're new to the channel, my name is Parker Nierenstein, and this is Vehicle Virgins. I am so excited for today because two of my cars are going to be getting a heck of a lot faster. The Supra and the McLaren 600 LT. You guys haven't seen the 600 LT in a while because it's been at VF Engineering, but apparently it's finished and it's making crazy amounts of power and shoots much, much bigger flames. All right, I think it's finally time to wash the Supra because every time my friends come over, I'm left with an extra present. This is actually ridiculous. There's so much dirt. Because I haven't had the McLaren recently, I've been driving the Ferrari around a bunch more. I am in love with the way this car drives. Obviously, nowhere near as fast, but the sound that V8 makes, whew. It's also just sexy. I mean, look at this thing. Ferrari, you killed it with the design. All right, guys, we got Alex, the downpipe guy, in the car. We're gonna do the turbo install in the Supra ourselves today. We're fucked. Oh, yeah. Big time. This thing desperately needs a wash, so we're headed to my favorite mobile wash to see what that can do. All right, so unfortunately, I just showed up at the gas station. It's absolutely packed with cars, so many so that's gonna take about an hour to run through that wash. So I'm gonna skip it. The problem is I really wanted to clean the car. I don't wanna dirty up Nick's shop, so sorry in advance, Nick. The car actually looks disgusting. I mean, it's kind of cool. Wow, shout out Supercar Blondie, thanks for that. But yeah, it needs to be cleaned. Alex goes in to buy a Red Bull and he comes out with a Route 66 hat. I kinda dig it. This poor interior, holy moly. Wasn't me. I do gotta say, every time I see a cop, especially because of how dirty this car is and how loud the pops are, I feel like I'm gonna get pulled over. Here, kitty, kitty, hello. That voice. Finally pulling up to VF Engineering. I am excited. Oh, beautiful R8. Oh boy, look what we got, guys. The 600 LT on the dyno. It already has the new downpipes installed. This thing is so loud. So I'm gonna leave all the McLaren stuff in the next video, but I'll give you guys a little teaser pull. And afterwards, in the next video, we'll see all the numbers, the flames, the reactions. I can't wait. Nick, what do you think of the Supra?
Is that a wrap?
It is. It's my new wrap. I think I'm gonna clear bra over it. Could you imagine?
The wheels. I like the graphics.
Yeah, there's a lot of graphics. Pun intended. There was a lot more actually, and they were mostly on here, but they were too inappropriate to show, so I took them off.
Thanks for wiping them down.
Of course, of course. I'm sorry I brought you it like this. So, we want to try to install the turbo on the Supra.
Yeah.
How long do you think it would take me and my non-skilled friend Alex, he's probably more skilled than me at this point, to install it?
Well, you're pretty competent, right? So, you know, I don't know. As long as you can find the tools, the right tools, and we'll guide you.
All right, I dig it. But you didn't give me a time.
Okay. All right, an hour plus or minus.
Okay, okay.
Welcome.
Oh, no.
Welcome to your engine.
Okay, I guess that's what it looks like after a day in the desert. Oh my God. Have you ever seen an engine bay that's looked like that?
No. Where is the engine?
Yeah, for real. All right, well, apparently we're about to try to install the turbo on the Supra right now. Let's see how that goes. So I've watched a decent amount of videos of people installing the upgraded Pure Turbo on their Supra, and it seems 50-50 on removing the downpipe or not. So it's really interesting. We're gonna find out whether or not you actually have to, but the first step is to remove out, just to smash your head against the hood. The first step is to remove the air box, and then let's see if we can find that turbo. Just remove the air box. You can see the turbo down in there. Check out how dirty this thing is. I wanna open it up and check out the filter. All right, how's it looking, Nick?
Let's have a look. That's not too bad, it's done its job.
That is disgusting. All right, better than having all that dirt go into the engine.
Absolutely, you can see it's clean on this side. nothing coming out on this side. So the filter's really done a good job. It's all coming out on this side here.
Wow.
None on the underside. So engine side's clean.
Cool.
Good.
So to give you guys an idea of what we have to do, we've got to remove the exhaust manifold right here, so a series of bolts. We've also got to remove the V-band clamp that connects the turbo to the downpipe, which is in a pretty awkward spot down there. A couple of clips and sensors, and in theory, downpipe guy and I should be able to do it. Just got the V-band clamp loose for the downpipe. It's way in there, and the tricky part is every time you loosen it, it wants to spin the clamp away from you. So we got that loose. We've got a bunch of clips taken out on this side, and now we are going to take out the exhaust manifold right here. Okay, so I just removed all of the nuts that hold on the exhaust manifold. Now I've got to remove this Torx way back in there to free up the oil and water lines for the turbo that we're then going to install on the new one sitting right here. I think it's pretty.
It's shiny.
It is shiny. It doesn't look quite the same as this, but maybe an off-road day and we'll change that. Yeah. Ooh, look at her spin. Basically installed. So we've pretty much got every single thing disconnected. There's only one bolt that's holding the turbo from coming all the way out. And you can see on the new turbo where that is. So this bolt right here, we've got to reach from the underside of the car because it's impossible from the top. If we look down here, I mean, it's tucked all the way up under there. So we're gonna throw this up on a lift, get that final bolt out, and hopefully the whole assembly will pop out just like this. So good news is we don't actually have to take the under tray off. You can see the Torx bit that we need for that bolt right there. Just gotta feed your arm up through. All right, so this is the tool that Nick has created in order to reach this bolt. Come check this out. Look how long this is. But it worked. So we've got all the bolts and fasteners removed. The only issue now is the downpipe is putting pressure on the exhaust manifold, making it pretty difficult to pull out. We're trying to figure out a way that doesn't require us to move the downpipe. What are the odds on that?
Possible.
Possible?
Yeah.
So Nick actually just found the two mounting points for the top part of the downpipe. It says AFE up here, I'll show you in a second. It looks like if we just take those off, we'll have enough flex here to pull the whole assembly off. See, these bolts up here, hopefully don't have to remove the whole downpipe because that was, yeah, what was that process like?
Not fun.
All right, in theory, everything has been removed and I'm able to pull the turbo out right now. I'm excited and scared at the same time. This is a much harder process than it looks like from the surface. Just like that, in 7 minutes flat, we have removed the turbo. Realistically, that actually took a pretty long time, like well over an hour. That was an interesting job. And now I've gotten coolant and dust all over Nick's shop, so I apologize.
It's fine.
Look, we got dirt even on the turbo. Holy moly. So I gotta say, I'm pretty stoked that I was actually able to take the turbo out of the car with extreme guidance from Nick. But he was gonna show us some of the differences between the stock turbo and the upgraded pure turbo.
Exactly, so you can see this is basically considered the hot side of the turbo. This is the cartridge, and this is the cold side of the turbo. So as the engine is combusting the air-fuel mixture, it then expels the waste gases, the burnt gases, through the cylinder head out, down the exhaust, into the exhaust manifold. And as you can see, this turbo has a one-piece design. So the exhaust manifold and the hot side of the turbo are one complete designed piece, a solid piece. So the exhaust gases go into the exhaust manifold through these two branches and into the housing itself and rotates an impeller, the hot side impeller, which you see right there, and that rotates the center shaft and in turn rotates the impeller on the cold side, which compresses the air that's drawn into the turbo and then discharged into the engine's air intake system, which gives the engine its positive pressure. Now, we'll compare the two sizes.
So more air means you can put more fuel, and more air and fuel means more power?
Yeah, you know, as I've said before, the engine is a processor and it's processing air, fuel, and it needs spark to combust the two. So with the turbo, we're going to put more air into it by requesting the turbo to actually insert more air into the engine by managing its wastegate. And the wastegate is electronically controlled through this sensor, and the ECU operates it. As you tell the turbo to put more air into the engine, we're also going to control the fuel injectors, proportionately based on some calibration and testing and data logging and analysis of the data, and get that mixture correct, and then also retard or advance the ignition depending on how the engine responds to the air and fuel.
So they took the stock turbo housing and then I guess bored it out so they could have a larger exhaust outlet and impeller?
Yeah, so what they've done is we can see they've taken a stock turbo, and the modifications have been to replace the wheels, the hot side and the cold side, and they've also modified the hot side to actually enable it to house a larger wheel, because they probably found, or the casting limited the size of the wheel that could be used in the unit itself.
Yeah, look how much bigger that is.
Exactly, you can see it's been bored out through here, and then it's been welded on the outside, some very nice welding. That actually gives more strength to the casting. And then, so a larger hot side impeller allows a greater amount of force to be transmitted through the impeller shaft, and therefore turning the cold side impeller, the compressor wheel, at a much faster rate of time, and creating more airflow and discharge to the engine. So the charged air, as it's called now, the cold side impeller is actually compressing the air and what we call charging the air. So the charged air is actually exiting the volute and then sent through the cooling system and into the engine. So basically, the cooler the discharged air is, the more power we can promote through the engine.
Awesome. And even the design of the impeller looks different.
Yeah, they've used some great manufacturing techniques. It's actually a twin blade. If you look at it from this side, you can see there's a blade behind it, and they've probably used a 5-axis CNC machine. I understand that Pure have been very successful in making a range of great turbo upgrades for a lot of cars these days. And, you know, through specialization of any specific skill, we really believe that people can really perfect and refine what they're doing. That looks like they really know what they're doing.
Okay, so we got the turbo out, and now it's time to put it in, but not right now because it's gonna take a decent amount of extra time. But what are the steps going forward with the Supra?
Right. Well, to put the turbo back in, we've got to first move over some of the mechanisms, the wastegate and the actuator, the drain line, and some of the fittings for the water lines and stuff, and then we can put the new turbo back on. So one of the limitations we feel we may have is that despite running a bigger turbo unit and getting a slightly cooler charge temperature, the EGTs will still be high. That's the exhaust gas temperatures, and that's how engines are typically calibrated. So the EGT is a result of the combustion process, and if the ratio of fuel and air aren't quite where the engine is happy, just depends on the efficiency of the engine, the way it's designed, then the temperatures will rise. That combustion mixture will get hot, and the piston top and the walls of the cylinders, and also the valves, the exhaust valves, are all subjected to a lot of heat. And they've got all temperature ranges, operating temperature ranges, and we don't want to go too close to their limits or they'll get damaged and they'll melt and heat, etc., and potentially cause engine damage. So one of the ways to cool the EGTs is to run more fuel. So we can add more fuel through the engine software calibration, and we can also try to promote a cooler combustion temperature by injecting water. So water injection, you may have heard of, Parker.
Yeah, the M4 GTS had that from the factory.
Exactly.
Which is
so the
pretty
M4
wild.
GTS is a prime example. That engine actually has a charge cooler on it. That's an air-to-water aftercooler to cool the air after the turbochargers and before it enters the engine's intake system. And what they've done is added 2 injectors underneath the charge cooler, which are fed from a reservoir of water, which is kept in the trunk. And then the water is topped up from the condensate on the AC condenser, which is an amazing concept. I haven't seen it until then before. And then it's also got a top-up module as well. So the water injection, the M4 GTS, is designed to give and promote a cooler charge combustion, and the entire process of the combustion of the gases to bring the temperatures down or keep them in check, because the GTS is designed for track use, prolonged, full throttle, wide open, aggressive driving, which is when you will experience the most heat from a forced induction system. So adding the similar kind of injection system to your Supra, that's the water injection or even methane injection if you want to really boost and promote a higher octane combustion, and then we can actually run more ignition timing and make more power and be more aggressive with the calibration. So there's a number of things we can do. You've done the right thing already by opening the exhaust system up to help get the exhaust gases out quicker, a bigger turbo, and then perhaps when we find the engine's temperature limits, we'll then give it water or methane injection for some more power.
And so with water injection and meth injection, does it like use a nozzle to make all the water into a mist, to find mist, and it sprays it straight into the
It does.
intake?
It's literally injecting a spray of water, similar to injecting fuel into the combustion cylinder. So the size of the nozzle determines exactly how much you're going to inject, and then the duration or the opening of the nozzle, the pulse of that water nozzle. It's actually very similar to a fuel injector. In fact, to make a crude homemade water injection system, you can actually use fuel injectors.
Maybe I should try that.
Or we'll buy a dedicated
That sounds like a better idea.
Yeah,
well, thank you so much again for the explanation, and thank you so much for watching me do this and making sure I don't screw my car up entirely. I'm sure you wanted to pull your teeth out at some point.
No, I think it was good.
But you guys, in the next video, you're gonna wanna see it because we take out the 600 LT on the road and it is ridiculous. Well, there you guys have it. I wouldn't say install of the turbo because we just removed the turbo, but it was definitely a process. Doing the whole thing would take a decent amount of time, and I want to let Nick and the rest of the crew go home. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. Turn notifications on because you don't want to miss the drop of the 600 LT downpiped and tuned video. See you next time.